Welcome to Maximum College Cash, where we unpack the controversial 529 strategy for families with multiple children. Today we'll focus on why splitting contributions equally is financially inefficient, how to prioritize either the oldest child or the youngest child, and ultimately how to build a personalized spreadsheet that minimizes the principal dollars you need to invest. We'll also review examples, diagrams, and a quick quiz. Let's get started. First, we will outline the dilemma between funding the oldest child first versus leveraging the longer compounding runway for the youngest child. Next, we will examine why equal splits usually fail the efficiency test. Then, we will walk through a decision framework and supporting diagrams, followed by step-by-step instructions to build a customized spreadsheet model. After that, we will review a sample scenario table and a side-by-side strategy comparison. Finally, we will test your understanding with a short quiz and finish with key takeaways and next steps. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial, legal, or tax advice. Your circumstances are unique and may require professional guidance. Please consult a licensed advisor before implementing any strategy or making investment decisions. Now, with that noted, let's examine the core dilemma. Now let's frame the dilemma. Financial efficiency suggests the youngest child requires the least principal because they have the longest compounding runway. However, aggressively funding the oldest child first can lock in their goal and reduce the risk that markets underperform right before tuition is due. You must balance these competing priorities using your family's ages, current balances, target percentage of public university costs, assumed return ranges, and contribution capacity. Ultimately, the output you want is a plan that uses the fewest principal dollars while maintaining an acceptable level of risk and defining clear contribution stop dates per child. Next, let's explore why splitting contributions equally is usually inefficient. Because time is money, contributions to younger children benefit from more compounding years. Equal splits also ignore sequence of returns risk, which is the danger that poor returns occur just before withdrawals, typically impacting the oldest child most. Equal splits fail to consider different starting balances and distinct deadlines. Your objective is to minimize principal dollars while managing risk, which means symmetry is not the right criterion. Locking in the oldest may be prudent, but it is not automatically the lowest cost approach. Moving on, this flowchart lays out a practical path. We begin with inputs such as ages, years to college, current 529 balances, target coverage percentage of public costs, and return assumptions. The central decision is to minimize principal dollars. From there, we model monthly and optional annual lump sum contributions. We simulate returns across base, bull, and bear scenarios. We then stop contributions for each child at the moment their target is reached. Finally, we compare strategies, equal split, oldest first, and youngest weighted, and select the one that uses the fewest principal dollars while satisfying your risk tolerance and deadlines. After that, it's time to build your model. First, create an input sheet with each child's age, years to college, current 529 balance, target percentage of public university costs, and assumed net returns after fees. Next, create a per-child timeline on a monthly basis extending to the first tuition payment date. Then, add your contribution logic, including monthly contributions and optional annual lump sums, with toggles per child. Use a monthly compounding formula to grow balances. Implement dynamic stop rules so that when a child's goal is reached, all future contributions for that child automatically drop to zero. Track total principal separately from investment growth to measure efficiency precisely. Include a scenario switcher for base, bull, and bear returns. And consider adding Monte Carlo percentiles if you're comfortable with stochastic modeling. Finally, summarize everything on a dashboard showing total principal required, per child stop dates, and side-by-side strategy comparisons. Now, here are some formula snippets you can adapt. Convert an annual return to monthly using a power function. Roll forward balances by multiplying the previous balance by 1 plus the monthly return, and then adding contributions and any flagged annual lump sums. For goal checks, if the current balance exceeds the target, set contributions to 0. Track principal contributions cumulatively and compute growth as current balance minus cumulative principal. For scenario management, use a switch formula to pull base, bull, or bear returns. These are examples. Adjust to your spreadsheet software and modeling conventions. Next, Consider this purely illustrative comparison of three strategies. Equal split requires about $110,000 of principal, with a $1,200 monthly contribution in year 1. The oldest first approach might drop total principal to roughly $98,000, with a higher monthly contribution and a $5,000 annual lump sum, locking in the oldest child's target earlier. The youngest weighted method could reduce principal further to around $92,000, given favorable compounding over more years, but it increases the risk of a funding gap for the oldest child if markets underperform. These numbers are examples only. Your results will vary and should be calculated in your custom model. Now let's compare. The oldest first approach locks in the near-term goal and reduces sequence of returns risk for the oldest child, but it often requires higher early cash flow and may use more principal overall. By contrast, the youngest weighted approach maximizes compounding and can lower total principal if returns materialize, though it increases the risk of a shortfall for the oldest child and requires careful monitoring and periodic rebalancing. The right choice depends on your risk tolerance and deadlines. Moving forward, be cautious with generic online calculators or unverified AI tools. They often assume symmetry, fixed returns, or constant contributions, which can ignore critical stop date dynamics and risk windows. Your optimal plan is unique because your ages, balances, return assumptions, and deadlines are unique. A customized model is the only way to minimize principal while maintaining appropriate risk controls. Before we continue, here is a quick question. Which statement best reflects the efficiency principle for multi-child 529 funding? Option A. Split contributions equally to be fair and simple. Option B. Fund the oldest child first because it always uses the least principal. Option C. Model contributions and stop dates per child to minimize principal while managing risk. Option D. Trust generic calculators because they are good enough for most families. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the correct answer in the next section. The correct answer is to model contributions and stop dates per child to minimize principal while managing risk. Custom modeling allows you to leverage compounding for younger children while also protecting against timing risk for older children who have near-term deadlines. This approach is the only reliable way to determine the lowest principal path that fits your family's circumstances. Next, this Gantt-style timeline demonstrates the concept of contribution stop dates. For illustration, child A, who is the oldest, receives contributions for about 2 years, with a stop milestone in early 2027. Child B's contributions extend to about 2029, while child C's continue to approximately 2033. The point is not the exact dates which you must compute in your model, but the process of automatically ceasing contributions once a child's target is met, freeing cash flow for other goals or for the remaining beneficiaries. As we move toward wrapping up, remember these key points. Equal splits are simple but rarely efficient. The oldest first approach locks in goals but may require more principal up front. The youngest weighted approach can reduce principal if returns materialize, but it raises near-term risk for the oldest child. Only a custom, per-child, stop-date model will reveal your true lowest principal strategy. Before we end, let's summarize. First, define your targets, such as 75 to 80% of public university costs. Then, model monthly growth and contributions for each child. Use stop rules to automatically cease contributions once individual goals are met. Compare equal, oldest first, and youngest weighted strategies under base, bull, and bear assumptions. Finally, select the plan that requires the least principal while respecting your risk tolerance and deadlines. To conclude, thank you for watching. If this video helped clarify your 529 strategy, please like the video, share it with another parent who could benefit, and subscribe for more practical modeling guides. I'd love to hear your approach in the comments, including your assumptions and what your custom model revealed. See you next time.